me just have some tea. I made myself some plain tea, which is just tea without milk. So good. I feel like a grandma every time I have plain tea at night, because in Sri Lanka, it's like something that really old people do, where they have to have a like glass of really hot plain tea at night before bed. And I'm like the only person who does it in our house who isn't like over 70. Hi guys, welcome to Status and Ink Stains. It's Zafra, and today I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag. Okay, so I know it's like 1 month past mid-year because we're in the last week of July, but I still want to do this video because I just have so many things to talk about. This year of reading so far has been so interesting, and I just have some niche books that I think need more attention. And if you are looking for good books to read for the rest of 2021, this is the place to be. At least I think so. So I'll be keeping things quite brief, at least I plan to. So if you want more details on these books, like ratings and reviews and even summaries, I'll be linking the Goodreads pages for all of these books down below, so you can go check them out. So the first question is best book of 2021 so far. Choosing one book for this is gonna be very hard for me because I've read some incredible books so far this year, so I've chosen two. The first one is Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. This was like delectable. Every time I opened this book, I felt like I was in Willy Wonka's factory, and it was a new like room in the factory, like a new enchanting chapter, and every chapter was just unique. It was bizarre. It was just incredible. If you don't know what Midnight's Children is, it's a magical realism book by Salman Rushdie. Well, also historical fiction. I don't really know what genre fits this book, but this book won the Booker of Bookers. The Man Booker Prize awarded which book they thought was the best Booker Prize winning book out of all of their Booker Prizes they had given out, and Midnight's Children won. I'm not gonna lie, that attracted me a little bit, but I was still like on edge. I was like, but like, you know, these literary awards sometimes they don't really mean much in terms of how much I'm gonna enjoy the book, so I kept pushing it off. And then I learned that Midnight's Children is about children, and also our main character, who were born at midnight on the independence of India and Pakistan when the partition happened. Why did I say Pakistan? Pakistan. So that interested me a lot, and the fact that there was magical realism involved. And after I got the ebook, I just sat down, read the first chapter, and I was hooked. I was like, okay, so I'm not picking anything else up. This is all I'm reading. For the next book that was a favorite so far in 2021, The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. I have so many feelings about this book. I honestly don't want to talk about it much because I foresee myself still ranking this in my top 3 at the end of the year. So I don't want to give away too much, but if you have yet to pick this book up, pick it up. It is 100% worth the hype, 200% worth the hype. Everything about this book just... And I said this in my Goodreads review, I have carved out like a tiny little space in my heart for The Sword of Kaigen. And it's just gonna sit there forever, like it's gonna forever sit there and give me that warmth. I loved it. Next prompt is best sequel you read so far in 2021, and I had a hard time choosing the answer for this simply because I haven't been reading a lot of series. I've kind of been avoiding series, so I don't have a lot of sequels I read. But the one sequel that stands out is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. Is it Chain of Iron? Yeah, it is. It's the one with the yellow dress in the cover and the bees, which never show up in the book, like, I don't know. Anyways, Chain of Iron. So I am not gonna lie, there's a lot of things looking back on Chain of Iron, there's a lot of things I do think that take away from how much I like the book. But at the same time, when I was reading this book and when I completed this book, I was just completely absorbed in it in a way that I haven't been in a long time. Like, I remember reading YA fantasy when I was like 13, and it was intense. Like, the feelings and how much I connected to these characters and cared for them and like yearned for them. I mean, I called myself a Herondale. Like, that feeling came back for at least the last half of Chain of Iron, and I think for that reason I do think it was the best sequel I've read so far in 2021. So the next question is also in singular, but I don't have one answer for this, and that is new release you've been wanting, you haven't read yet but want to in 2021. The books that have been coming out this year have just been incredible. I keep reading new releases and ignoring my old TBR because they just sound so good, and all the new releases I've read so far this year have just blown my mind. So I keep reading new releases, and these next 3 are ones I definitely want to get to hopefully in the next month or so. And that's The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, Misfit in Love by S.K. Ali, and finally Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Yimide. I probably messed that up, I'm so sorry. But these are the 3 books that are on my immediate TBR that I really want to pick up, especially The Anthropocene Reviewed, and of course the other ones too. There are plenty more. If you're interested, do check out my Goodreads. So the next question is your most anticipated release for the second half of 2021, and I have quite a few answers for this one as well, but I've picked out 3 that I'm really excited for. First is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I'm also really excited about These Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, by Chloe Gong, and Iron Widow by Siren J. Zhao. So sorry if I missed any of those pronunciations, but these are the 3 books I'm really hyped for. I do have more. The Heart Principle by Helen Huang is definitely high up there. I could keep going because there's just so many great books coming out this year, and so many that have already come out as well. Okay, the next one is Biggest Disappointment. I don't really talk about books I don't like, unless I'm like with my friends, with my bookish friends. I'll sit and rant for hours, but I don't like to publicly speak about books I don't like. But this one, I was real hurt. Wait, it's on the shelf. Let me take it out. Where are you, boy? The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This, I got the anniversary edition, and it's gorgeous. I love this cover. I love the design, the gold foil, and I even love the size and feel of this book. I just love everything about the physical book. I don't like the book at all. I don't like it, and I really wanted to like it. I even tagged nice like quotes as I was reading. I was like, ooh, that's like wise. And then I finished it, I sat down, and I was like, that was so pretentious, like I can't. Forgive me. If you love this book, perfectly fine. You can love it as much as you want, but I didn't. So the next prompt is Biggest Surprise. I'm gonna take a sip of my plain tea while I talk about this one. My biggest surprise, this might come as a surprise to you guys as well, and my biggest surprise was also a new release, and that was Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. Here's the thing, I loved The Hate You Give. It was one of my favorite books of I think 2018, and I still love it. It's still one of my favorite books of all time. But at the same time, I read On the Come Up, and I didn't like it as much. Like, I think I gave On the Come Up like a 3.5 star rating, and so I wasn't really anticipating any of Angie Thomas's books after that, because I was like, oh, kind of lost interest. And then Concrete Rose came out, and I saw that it wasn't too long, and the plot seemed interesting, because Concrete Rose is actually like a prequel novella almost. Well, I wouldn't call it a novella, it is a full-fledged book novel, but it's the story of Star, who is our main character in The Hate You Give, her dad when he was younger. And that wasn't even a significant reason why I picked up the book. I just thought, hey, she has a new book out, I need a good book to read, it's not too long, I'm gonna pick it up. Picked it up, loved it. Like, I cried twice. I did not expect to feel and love and be absorbed by this book as much as I was, and I was so pleasantly surprised. Concrete Rose, just I love it so much. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to more Angie Thomas releases after this, because I just, Concrete Rose was amazing. Also the cover is just gorgeous. The next one's a very easy answer. Favorite new author? Debut or new to me? This is not a debut author, this is an author who's new to me, and that's ML Wong. This one's the easiest answer to give. The Sword of Kaigen is an indie release, so it does not have as much hype as a lot of the mainstream fantasy books that you do see out there on Goodreads and Bookstagram and like BuzzFeed and other book blog and websites. But over the past few weeks or so, I've seen a lot of Bookstagrammers, a lot of bookish people picking it up and realizing how amazing ML Wong's writing style is. It's just the perfect writing style for fantasy, I feel like. There's just so much balance. It's not the type of writing style where you can quote every line, because I think that's a specific type of fantasy reader is looking for that. And with the Sword of Kaigen, her writing just flows like water, like beautifully. It's incredible. And as I kept reading her writing, the whole time I was like, teach me how you do this. And I'm saying this as someone who's been having such a hard time focusing on reading, especially like more intense fantasy or science fiction. Just the Sword of Kaigen just flowed, and ML Wong is an author I am 100% going to be looking out for. The next question is also an easy answer, and that is newest fictional crush, and that is Marshall So from These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I love, the thing is, the main characters of These Violent Delights was Roma and Juliet. But every time Marshall showed up, I was like, can we please just have like Marshall books, like novellas about Marshall? Like almost like Sherlock Holmes style, where it's just like Marshall doing things and solving mysteries. Like I love Marshall So. Newest favorite character is also a no-brainer for me, and that is Mamoru from The Sword of Kaigen. I fear if I keep going on more and more about this, I'll never stop, but Mamoru is my entire heart. I did an entire painting for Mamoru. And the thing is, I'm a very cautious reader, so when I first start reading a book, it does take me some time to get accustomed to the characters and start feeling for the characters. But with Mamoru, from the first chapter itself, I felt so connected to Mamoru, and I felt like I just needed to protect him, and it was just Mamoru. So moving on to our next prompt, a book that made you cry. I mean, like all the books I read this year. Everything's made me cry, and I don't know if that says more about my emotional stability or about the power of the authors and books I read this year. But I just picked out the last two books I read both made me cry, and I thought, you know what, I should just present those. So the first one is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. If you have heard of this book and you know anything about this book, you'll probably understand why this made me cry. But this one was just like I was in the living room with my family, so I was just like, you can't soap. Like I had to just like hold it, and I was literally reading the paragraph that made me cry, just like don't read it again, don't do it to yourself. And the next book that made me cry was A Hope More Powerful Than the Sea by Melissa Fleming. This one is also so Know My Name is also a memoir and it's nonfiction. This one's I would say a biography more like, and it's also nonfiction. And we follow our main character Doa as she is forced to flee from Syria to Egypt and then finds herself on the refugee boats. I'm not gonna go into detail more, but this is just heart-wrenching. You grow so attached to Doa. And I'm saying that in a present tense, but Doa Zemel, who this book is about, is a real person, a real living girl, and you read about her story, and it is horrifying and hopeful and inspiring on levels that I wasn't even thinking on when I started this book. So Hope More Powerful Than the Sea. It made me cry multiple times for multiple reasons. I don't want to go into the details because next prompt. So appropriately moving on to our next prompt, which is a book that made you happy. And for this one, I picked the Tea Dragon graphic novel trilogy by K. O'Neill. So it starts with the Tea Dragon Society, and then the Tea Dragon Festival, and then the Tea Dragon Tapestry. I loved all three of these graphic novels. They're incredible. K. O'Neill's art style is just beautiful. I loved everything about these graphic novels, and they just made me really happy. I mean, they had tea and dragons and gorgeous colors and illustrations and inclusivity and diversity done so naturally well in a fantasy setting. It was just... So the next prompt is the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. So for this one, I'm actually going to do a digital book, and I just started reading it, and that is Home Is Not a Country by Safia El-Hilo. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I hope that's right. And it's just, this book's cover is just incredible. It's not just a book itself, the book is written in verse, so it's just beautiful on the inside, it's beautiful on the outside. The name, Home Is Not a Country, I mean, it's just, I think this book is beautiful. So for my next prompt, I have a lot of answers, and that is books you want to pick up before the end of the year. I do have a lot of digital answers for this one as well, but I'm going to just show you guys 3 of the physical books I want to read. There are more, but I just think this video will be going on for far too long if I pick up those as well. So the first one is I Contain Multitudes by Ed Yong. It is about microbes within us and a grander view of life. And it's just, I bought this with thinking that this is like the perfect pandemic book to read. And I probably should read it before the end of the year because inshallah, if God wills, we will not have much of the pandemic next year, or at least it'll be more controlled. So I do want to read this before the pandemic ends, just because I want to be more informed about what's going on around me. The next book I really want to read before the end of the year is Sing Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward. This has been on my TBR for so long, and with more and more native stories that I've been wanting to pick up, this one just keeps popping up on the lists, and I just think it's finally time that I picked it up. The last one is one I'm ashamed to say I still haven't read, and that is Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. This is the 4th book in the Red Rising series, and I have yet to get to Iron Gold simply because it's just, these books like do things to you. Pierce Brown does things to your characters that you can't handle. So I feel like I need to prepare myself before I pick this up. So I'm gonna quickly run through this is not very smart, but I'm gonna quickly run through my some of the books I want to be reading before the end of the year. So the first one is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I also want to be reading The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, Almond by Won Pyong-sun, Rogue Protocol by Martha Wells, The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin, The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa, and so much more. I have so much more that I want to read. So I hope you guys had some fun with me. I hope this was an interesting video. Let me know what were your favorite books of 2021 so far. Are there any books in this video that you want to try picking up? Do let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to speak to you guys about it. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna say goodbye now, and hopefully sit down and try to read these instead of just talking about them. Bye bye. Salam alaikum. Ta-ta. I should stop. Oh, bitter.